Hey, it's Jack from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. So the whole bombshell commission lawsuit thing, there's a lot of developments, but I want to focus on the rules. So set aside the money and who gets to pay and who doesn't have. Let's set aside that and just focus on the rules. Remember, the New York Times told everybody that this was going to change real estate forever and the days of 6% commissions are no longer here. Of course, I haven't gotten a 6% commission for a long time, but everyone just bought into the fact that this was a done deal. And I am not convinced of that. And right now, where we're looking at this case, a lot of it relative to the rules, again, set aside the money, a lot of it relative to the rules is coming down to whether or not the changes proposed in the Nosalek versus MLSPIN case, whether those changes would have an actual impact on the marketplace, and whether the changes in the Northwest MLS took voluntarily back in late 2019, especially whether those rules actually made a difference in the marketplace. You see, the Consumer Federation of America did a study on those rules out in Northwest MLS. And they said, while it sounded good, it actually didn't make that much of a difference in the marketplace for consumers. And it seems clear through these court filings that the Department of Justice is leaning upon the Consumer Federation of America and their opinion of whether or not the rules make any difference. So the focus seems to be on the Northwest MLS and through that Nosalek MLS PIN rules, which haven't yet gotten effect. So do these rules make any difference, or will the Department of Justice continue to push for what has been commonly referred to a decoupling of real estate fees? In other words, sellers pay the seller's agent, buyers pay the buyer's agent. We all know that in the proposed settlement, cooperation would still be allowed to occur, just not on the MLS. So we're going to get into those details in this video. And let's first bring up, let's see if we have this right here. That's better there. Let's first bring up to remind ourselves what the Department of Justice said in their statement of interest back in February 15th. Far from curing the rule's defects, the proposed settlement perpetuates the very same competitive concerns that trouble the current rule. So this is the Department of Justice attorney, Jessica Lael, in her opinion of the Nosalek ruling. Lael wrote that the changes of the proposed settlement would not create competition or reduce commissions, and that it would provide no meaningful benefit. And so in that statement, which the Department of Justice made again on February 15th, the Council of Multiple Listing Services is now striking back. And they're a group of 225 multiple listings services. And they're basically saying, yeah, it would make a big difference. They have filed a friend of the court brief, and they are taking exception to the Department of Justice statement of interest filed February 15th. Now, I have my notes here just to make sure. I'm going to summarize this statement from the Council of Multiple Listing Services, which, by the way, we should probably consider to be somewhat of strongly influenced, we'll say it that way, by the Realtor Association itself, because the Realtor Association owns so many MLSs, many of which I imagine are a member of this council. So effectively, they're taking issue with the CFA methodology, and they're strongly asserting that the 2019 rule that the Northwest MLS adopted did make a meaningful and clear impact upon fees. In other words, it lowered fees. So this is something, when you look at the charts in their own amicus brief, friend of the court brief, I think their charts actually disprove their point. I think their charts prove that actually the changes to the commission environment occurred before late 2019. We're going to take a look at that. But I also very quickly want to focus upon this. How do we say this? This turn of a phrase that is in the proposed settlement. So in the proposed settlement, and then we'll take a look at the charts in a moment. But in the proposed settlement, or in the Nosalek statement of interest from February 15th, and page 20, section C, to address the competitive problem alleged by plaintiffs, the selling parties could agree to an injunction that prohibits offers of broker compensation by MLS participants. And I think this has been kind of twisted by the proposed settlement. The proposed settlement says not by MLS participants, but on the MLS. And I think when you read the intent of this statement of interest in Nosalek from February, the intent is by MLSPIN participants, not on some other platform or through some other methodology like texting the listing agent or calling the listing agent, but by them at all, no matter by them. So this proposed settlement suggests that it's okay to have cooperating commission as long as you don't do it on the MLS. But when you read the statement of interest, it doesn't say on the MLS, it says by MLS participants. And I think the settlement as it's currently proposed is kind of being a little cute with that. They're trying to comply, or trying to seem to comply with the Nosalek letter of interest. But when you really read it, it's not, because there's a huge difference between by participants versus on the MLS. And it's quite clear that the Department of Justice does not want a cooperating commission environment. They want the seller to pay the seller agent and the buyer agent to be paid by the buyer. And you can read on, if you want, here very, very clearly. If you go to page 21 of the February statement, preventing sellers and listing agents from setting buyer broker commissions would promote greater price competition and innovation in the market for broker services. If buyers set the compensation for their own brokers directly, some buyer brokers might choose to offer flat fees, hourly rates, blah, 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 in lieu of the percentage commissions. Since the amount of time and effort required by a buyer broker has a weak correlation, if any, to the ultimate sales price of the home. It's quite clear that the Department of Justice wants to decouple commissions. We'll see if they continue that position, but that's their position as of February 15th. We'll see if the politics gets involved that, that has them cave on that, because I think that's a possibility that the Department of Justice could cave because of politics, because it might look good in an election year to make the real estate industry crumble here. It might make them look good. But I think in the long run, as you heard from me before, I would rather have a settlement where it decouples. It's not that perfect solution, but I think it's better than the current solution. So going over to the friend of the court briefing from the Council of Multiple Listing Services, they argue that these rules made a difference as soon as they put them into effect. And they provide two charts to kind of make their point in their amicus brief, which was filed last week. And here it is here. Now, they have added 4 modifications to this chart to kind of prove their point. And in order to actually read the chart in an unbiased manner, You have to ignore the dotted line that goes up and down. That is the date of the rule change. You have to ignore the fact that they put the dots in different colors, blue and then red after the rule change, blue before. And then you have to ignore the trend lines that they write there. But once you do that and you kind of look at the chart for exactly what it is, which is data, sometime in 2006, as you can see, commissions hit a low spot at about 2.85 in 2006. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, I'd be kind of curious to find this out. They kind of started to go back up over 2007, 2000. Maybe that was because of the great financial crisis and it was tough to sell homes. Remember, I've been telling you this, that this could be variable based upon economic conditions. So as it becomes tougher to sell homes, buyer commissions go back up. That's interesting. And then there's a slow drift down. And I think what's important here, if you're looking at a financial chart, is when do they make a new lower low? When do they go below? When do they hit and then go below 2.85? And just by looking at this chart, it is crystal clear that that appears to occur sometime in late 2017, a full 2 years before the rule is adopted. The trend down is crystal clear way before they adopt the rule. If you just take away the dotted line and make all the dots the same color, the trend is crystal clear. This chart, no matter, even if it's doctored like it is, this chart proves my point. It proves the Department of Justice's point, and that the commission started to crumble when we started to move to a seller's market. When we started to move to a seller's market, that's when the commission started to crumble. Right? Because remember, I mean, this is really simple. And I think a lot of you saw this in your marketplaces. You started to see listing agencies get 3% on a deal and buyer agencies get 2% on a deal. Why? Because listings were hard to come by, and therefore the seller agent added more value to the deal as a whole, and the seller agent got more money. That's why it's always better to work for sellers. And then it kind of bottomed out sometime in 2022, 2023. It's been kind of moving sideways since then. But the trend clearly from this chart started before 2019. Let's scroll down to the next chart, which is even easier to see this trend. Here we are here. Here's another trend that the Council of Multiple Listing Services is trying to tell you, that the rule worked, that the rule made things more affordable, that the rule pushed fees down. And here's the chart here. The lime green is fees in the 2.5 range. And they are saying, look at how deceptive, look at how, I don't even want to say deceptive, look how much of a lie this chart is. In fact, they actually lie further up on page 19. The share of sub 2.5 offers started to increase in late 2019, reaching around 10% in 22. Did this trend start in 2019 where the dotted line is? Hell no. That trend started about 2 years earlier, where they exceeded the higher high. You can also see this again. The higher high was occurred somewhere back in 2006. And then it sloped down again as houses became more difficult to sell. It became more of a buyer's market. And then, generally speaking, things started to turn to a seller market sometime in 2016, 2017, and the trend went up. And sometime during 2017, we exceeded the higher high from 2006. Right. I mean, it's right there. It looks like in the middle of 2017, we exceeded the higher high. That's 2 years before the Northwest MLS put their rule into effect. Don't even tell me that this trend started in 2019. That's a lie. Sorry, CMLS. That's just That's a lie. That's not what the chart says. That's just, I'm calling complete BS on that. For you to say that the share of sub 2.5 offers started to increase in late 2019 when they adopted the rule, that's just BS, right? This trend in lower commission pressure started back in 2017. That's clearly the case. If you want to say that the yellow started to go up, which is less than 2.5%, if you want to say that started to go up in about sometime in late 2020, you could say that. But that's not that's a significant. That's still about a good year after the rule was adopted. So you got to look at the bigger trend, people. Got to look at the bigger trend. I don't see a lot of movement in that yellow for at least a year. And of course, the market was all sorts of foobar during 2020 and 2021 with the whole, you know what, which I don't want to have my video flagged, so I'm not going to say the word, but you know the word. And yeah, you know the thing. So I think this is completely disingenuous by the Council of Multiple Listing Services to suggest that their rule change made the difference, that the rule change lowered commissions. No, what lowered commissions was the fact that it became a seller market. And also, I think it's incredibly disingenuous of the proposed NAR settlement to say that they are twisting those words to make it not on the MLS, which is what they want, but by the MLS. The Nosalek DOJ statement says by MLS participants. It doesn't say on the MLS, which, again, convinces me that the Department of Justice was not consulted as part of the proposed settlement, and that it's really a good deal for NAR to get this over with, and it's also a good deal for the lawyers. But it actually doesn't necessarily serve the consumer. We'll see. Time will tell. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before at some point, I'm sure. But we'll see if the Department of Justice comes out and puts their stamp of approval on this proposed settlement. My gut feeling says that the answer is no, unless politics has something to do with it, which is rare. I mean, the Department of Justice never is influenced by politics. All right, so I'm Jack from Jack Gately Real Estate. Thank you so much for watching. We'll put some links in the description. Have a great day. Go make some money. Bye-bye.